What's up, guys? It is Rahul from the Chaos Gym, and as you know, there has been some big news today in the Pokemon world. We're going to look at the news real fast. So, the biggest thing that changed, let me find the original page while we are talking, is the World Championships invite structure. So, basically, what happened today is that they went back and announced that the structure for the World Championships that has currently existed is going to change because they are assuming that we will not have enough competitors that will qualify, which is a reasonable assumption because I think this Worlds was going to be probably, if you total all the Masters, it would have been like 150 Masters. Now I can't find the other page right now, but I'll find it later. I'll link it down below. But the biggest change they made that was important was they reduced the younger age divisions in CP requirement, which I think was needed. A lot of the younger age divisions were not getting the CP they required because they don't have the same means of travel as Masters do. And then they decreased Europe as well because they got shafted on regionals, etc. throughout this current season. And I'm going to say this now as a disclaimer: all the opinions in this video are mine, and my upsets and my concerns or whatever are mine and mine entirely. So this is just me voicing my opinion on the new matters and just giving you guys a heads up on the news. So why is this? But Masters for US still stay at 500. Where's the change coming in? League challenges still the same. League cups, every single cup finish has gotten about a 5-point bump up. Therefore, if you had 2 finishes for League Cups in quarters 2 and 3, that's about 20 more points. If you do it in quarter 4 as well, that's another 10 more points. So effectively, had you gotten first at all of your League Cups, you get 55, 110 times 3. You get 330 points, which is a lot off of League Cups. But still, that's fine, I think. Special events got a small bump up across the board, 15 it looks like. But special events are not, there's not many. There was one in Canada, there was one in Puerto Rico, which I had the fortune of attending. There'll be one in Origins. So other than that, there's not been much. Regionals is the big one. This is where I'm, Regionals and Intercontinental, the one where I'm a little upset about. Regionals received a 20-point bump up across all of them, it looks like. Yeah, and a 1,000-person kicker has been added as well, which is kind of neat because we didn't have that before, I don't think. But yeah, 20-point bump up across the board, which is I think required because getting day 2 and only getting 32 points was kind of a slap in the face after getting through 700 people and getting less points than like a 10-person League Cup. But the problem herein lies that you are not equating one regional to another. You're saying the same thing as, for example, someone who day 2 St. Louis, a 700-man regional this year, is equivalent to somebody getting top 64 at Utah, which should not be correct. I feel that rather than getting a flat 20-point payout across all of the things, we should have had a scaling system in which had we still keep the base CP at like 40 or something for day 2, and we say for every 100 Masters added onwards, we add 10 more CP to the pot. Something like that. It's not a perfect system. I don't know what a perfect system would be. Maybe a flat percentage increase. But for now, I think that would have been better than a flat 20-point payout because this 20-point payout rewards players who are able to travel to a myriad of regionals and simply accumulate top 128, top 64 points. For example's sake, people who have like 7 regionals finishes as current, or like 8 regionals finishes, majority of which being 64, 128, were rewarded with almost 200 championship points with this change, which is kind of absurd to think about. I was only awarded 95 due to me only having 3 regionals finishes, albeit all 3 of my finishes were very fortunately good, 2 top 8s and top 4, but thus, like, I was given the short end of the stick on not being able to attend many regionals, or choosing not to. Now here's the one that gets me the most heated. Intercontinentals. They bumped it up by 50 points. So Intercontinentals were already a huge plus to anybody who could travel to these. Sure, you had to still like you still have to be good to go to them, but they were effectively easier tournaments in number. It's sure the skill level may have been higher, similar to a Worlds level event, if you could make it to day 2, because the big names are there's some pretty big names to qualify for day 2. But getting simply a top 64 in Australia, which was a very small event, I think they had like 280 or something, and getting 110 points, that's ridiculous. Like, that's so many points. Anyone who went to an Intercontinental and picked up any semblance of points has just gotten a 50-point bump on every single thing. So, while this makes getting an invite effectively, if you have the money to go to an Intercontinental and you're somewhat good at this game, you could pretty much get an invite. Getting 500 was not that difficult to begin with the current invite structure, and I also think it's a little bit, I don't know, I'm just upset about the Intercontinental finishes being so valued so highly. Now, before I do some of the questions, sorry the other guys couldn't be here. They were a little occupied with personal things, so it's just going to be me. I don't mind just being me. We're going to talk about what I feel should have changed. I think Intercontinental should have also changed to a scaling basis on attendance. Sure, give first place the same amount of CP, give top 8 the same amount of CP. I don't care, that's fine. But everything below top 8 should be scaled. There needs to be more of a scaling system. I don't know what the perfect numbers would be. I didn't think that much into it, but there should be a more perfect scaling system. Now, I understand I am also one that is very happy that a majority of my friends who were in the ballpark for their invite, but realistically would have to have a good end of the season run to acquire those invites, are now pretty much locked up with their invites. Don't get me wrong, I'm like one of the happiest people to see a majority of my friends being able to compete at Worlds. That being said, the prestige of this event has been taken away. For once, a lot of players were excited, even at the beginning of the season, seeing 500, that we were going to have we were going to have a competitive, and we were going to have a Worlds that in a long time players could be very happy to attend, saying this is a prestigious event since the days of top 40. Because in top 40 ELO and CP were the thing, people were very, it was cutthroat. There was no freebies being given out. Now, this doesn't make Worlds any less prestigious in the sense that it's still the World Championships, but it does, in a lot of players' minds, make this less prestigious as an event to attend, including my own. I was fine with a small Worlds, even had I not qualified. I know a lot of players share my sentiment. Russell Lepar, Michael Canaves, a lot of people have made posts online saying even if they had not reached their 500 points for this season, they would have been okay with having a small Worlds purely because the prestige of the event would have been so high and it would have been a step in the right direction. That being said, I think the CP bump out wasn't needed, but doing it 9 months into the season of Pokemon is not correct. You either just don't implement it at all or implement it sometime in the middle of the season, like before the third quarter, giving players an opportunity to actually like make the conscious decision to go for their invite or not. At this point, it's kind of like you just kind of like threw them into the water and you're like, hey, what up? We gave you like a chance. What are you gonna do with it? I think this would just introduce it at the beginning of next year. Like, this is a trial and error season. Like, we get it, Pokemon League Cups were screwed up. Like, a lot of things have been screwed up this year, and a lot of players are okay with these things being screwed up because it looked like we are taking it still looks like we are taking steps in the right direction. The season as a whole, the idea as a whole seems super, super cool. I, for one, am very about the direction we're going in, but at the same time, things like this were taking 2 steps back. I like the forward approach with the ban list, the extra communication, all that. We're going in the right direction, but again, stick to your guns. You made a decision at the beginning of the season to do something. Go through with it. It's not like, I don't know. I just don't think it's right making this announcement 9 months into the season. People have been scooping to each other at League Cups. People have been helping each other get their friends to their invites at the risk of their own because they knew they weren't able to get the 500 points. They weren't able to travel to X, Y, and Z regions. On top of that, you're making the top 16 gap much larger for everybody else involved in the field. The top 16 are the ones who can go to ICs, and therefore they're at a higher edge than everybody else. That's my rant. I'm mostly upset purely because I was knocked out of top 16. And I think it's going to be very difficult for me to stay back in because of all of the players that were able to attend intercontinentals, and I have not been able to. I have not been to one yet, and I would have to have a good showing in North America. So let's go through some of the questions that were posted. Graham Westby asked, is the change for North American players that we needed? I do not think North America needed any change whatsoever for this season. It's the structure, like Rambo said, it is a structure that we should have had all along, but releasing it this age, late into the season, just shits on everyone's decision to go out and put minimal effort into the season based on the structure presented to us. It's just like, you're putting it out this much later, and so it's like, people who have that strong desire to go for their invite will now start booking. Like, if you're in the 350 to 400 ballpark, or even 300 plus, you can start slamming plane tickets to, like, the remaining 5 regionals. It's just, yeah, I don't think we didn't need it from North America. I think Europe needed their point reduction, but this is just not, yeah. John Kettler asked, how big do the difference you think is making the size of Worlds? I previously calculated that we would have a 130 to 150 man Worlds Masters. I'm just going to talk in Masters terms here. But I think our day one will double now. So I think it'll still be a small-ish Worlds. I don't know. It'll probably be like closer to 250, I want to say. 250 players in the Masters division. You can tack on maybe, I would say double the invites from the US, so about 100. And I think Europe also would get a boost, so double them, so about 80. I don't think the point bumps helped out other regions as much as they did the 2 regions, Europe and North America. So I think we'll only get about 50 to 60 combined from every other region. So it'll be a 240 to, I'd put still below, I think it'd be sub 250 still, the Worlds, which is still about half the size of our Worlds last year, which is still a huge improvement. Last year's Worlds was not very prestigious. Then the next question is, do you think 500 CP discourages a slightly more diversified competitive player base from the US? I don't really know what that question is asking, but I feel like if you want to be competitive, you can be as competitive as you want to be. Like, sure, you have to be decent at the game, but being able to travel and put the testing and effort required to be competitive is the same no matter where you're from. I don't really know the extent of that question. I don't have time to relive the old and new, figure out what changed. Please let us know what exactly the new structure is in comparison to old and how many people could be expected at Worlds, even if it's just rough numbers. Roughly, like I said, plus 5 to Cups, plus 20 to Regionals, plus 15 to Special Events, plus 50 to Intercontinentals, which is huge. Other than that, like I told in the Kettler post, I think 250 would be the rough Masters estimate at this point, which is, I think, double what I anticipated, roughly double what I anticipated the earliest Worlds. Okay, and then we have next question. Yeah, 56 CP, can I get an invite? At this point, you can literally do anything, because it's like 2 cups, that's another 110 points if you win both, and then you just gotta do decent at some regionals and you should be okay. How does this change your plans throughout the season if this announcement were made back in December or January instead of 2 months before the season ends? Well, literally, if the changes were made in December. Okay, I don't have raw statistical numbers at this current point, but compared to the regionals we had at the beginning of the season, compared to the regionals we had, these past few regionals we've had, the numbers have been steadily declining. Other than St. Louis, which is always been big, the numbers have been steadily declining because players have been giving up on their invite. The allure of the money that we're adding to regionals is not enough to justify a lot of travel going out there, because you can't expect 500 at a lot of these tournaments. Just the addition of money caused the increase in regionals attendance when they announced that in like November, which is pretty huge. Um, if things like in December or January were announced, I think regionals like Anaheim, regionals like um, even St. Louis, I think like Virginia this weekend would have gotten more attendance. Canada would have gotten a lot more attendance than his. Um, I expect the remaining few we have to be huge. It's just like that announcement being done at the beginning of second quarter would have been huge. Or the end of second quarter, beginning of third would have been a lot better than what they did now. It still would have given people time in the remaining 6 months to adjust their plan to how they want to approach the rest of the season. I just think this is the position where it's just like this is pretty much like the effect of doing it at the end. Like this is the second worst time they could have done it. The worst time for announcement would have been right after Nationals, just going, haha, jokes on all of you. Some of you just got a surprise invite. Some of you are surprise knocked out of top 16. Have fun. I don't know. Just this was not the correct timing. Quarter 2 ending would have been probably fine timing, but does it feel like 20 points boost per regionals for everyone who has gone to a ton of regionals? It's gotten more people in the world, but also seems to be nothing about the rich get richer problem now. It seems like best beneficials you get 8 top 28, you get 2 ATP for just that. Okay. Yeah, I think Eddie asked a great question. I think the flat 20-point boost, like I already just discussed earlier, I don't think it was correct. I think they should have increased it by a percentage-based system. I think they should have done it by percentage-based, by attendance. But I think that because of all the complaints and their Pokemon has projections, they want X amount of people at Worlds. So I guess their number was closer to 250 that they wanted, and they needed to make up that ground quickly because Worlds is closing in, and there aren't that many opportunities for players left to get their Worlds invite. So I think they just tried to do a temporary, just fix it all solution, which may end up having more people at Worlds than they would like, but I don't know. It's whatever. I also agree with Chris Sayakala when he says that because of this boost that everybody gets points, this would be reasonable if you bump up the point requirement to 600 at least, or even like 700, because now those points are a lot more attainable now. But still. Eddie Gutierrez asks, why not bring back the grinder instead of fucking over people who grinded up and gave up the deer? I think personally, I would have preferred to see the grinder this year, as opposed to this change. I think it would have been more welcome that we just eliminate a day 2 of Worlds with the small amount that we would have received. I think this year, I'd give all the players who received a day 2 Worlds invitation like a round 1 bye, because it would be like an 8-round tournament more than likely. Give them a round 1 bye, which is still pretty huge, a world championship level tournament. And then you just have like 8 people grinded, just the usual, and I think that would have been fine. I think that would have been fantastic if we did grinder this year. I don't think it was a little. I think even if you had announced it like today, people would have booked tickets to go. I think if you announced it in the next month, people booked tickets to go. People are already going to Worlds because it's the experience. I think the grinder would have been. It's something that we have been sorely missing, and I don't like this day 1, day 2 grinder thing. It's just. It takes away from what Worlds actually is, in my opinion. Why are people so shocked this happened? Szymanski has been saying this UTP sale is a number of people, and Hudson is huge. I think people are shocked in a good way because we were all hoping that they would make a change, but the days were getting closer and closer to Worlds and closer to the end of the season, so everyone lost hope in the fact that we would make have an announcement, have a change coming in. And yes, Pokemon does want X amount of people at Worlds. I don't know the exact configuration. I think only the people who are higher up will know those numbers. But like they could have been a lot more done with this. They could, like I said, they could have been the grinder. They could have done like Worlds isn't supposed to just be all about the competitors. It's supposed to be about an experience for anybody who wants to come. This is the World Championships. Like for example, Hearthstone's BlizzCon is ridiculous every year. Everyone goes, everyone has a good time. Worlds, I remember when I went in 2013 in Vancouver, I didn't qualify, but I went and had a good time regardless. There was a lot of fun things to do. The venue was fun. Everything was fun. It's an experience. It shouldn't just be. You shouldn't be driving away people who are coming for the experience and making it solely about the competitors. But I agree, a huge chunk should be on the competitors. Look at all the things they screwed up and fixed. Regional payouts. Yep, that was a good fix for the season. I think the regional payouts is incredibly good. The promo releases, that was good. The whole alternate art thing, good direction. The expanded ban list, that is also a very big thing that's coming up. I think I will talk about that in a later video. CP structure is messed up. Yeah, I think the willingness to fix is a very good step in the right direction. I like it a lot. The communication's getting better and everything. I just feel like it should have been done at the beginning or in not the middle of the season, not in 9 months in, where everyone's seasons are effectively done. Why no grinder? I don't know. I can't answer that. Probably monetarily, it's a lot more expensive. I don't know. Yeah. As for making the CP requirement higher to compensate, I don't think that's necessary. World's Day 1 is basically the grinder from years ago, so isn't a big deal. There'll be a lot of generous amount of people in. The alternate option is to make Worlds 2 days again, raise the CP to 700 and bring back the grinder. The players don't have the money to travel a lot of money to Worlds. Yeah, I think that's perfectly correct. Like, go back to the same old 2-day World structure and bring back the grinder. I think that would have been a perfect stopgap solution for this season. Do you think this change shows that next season will either have a less point requirement or just give out more points for top finishes or no change at all? I think we will not. I think if we go back to having 4 cups, quarters of cups, then our point requirement will definitely be increased to like 600 or even 700. But without that, I think that this is probably what we're going to get next season as well, which is fine. I would like to see less emphasis on cups at all. I think just cups should be eliminated from the point system, because if a player is world's caliber, they should be able to prove themselves at regionals. You lower the CP requirement to like 400 at this point, 350, 400, and you just take away cup points. And you're pretty much saying, hey, go play regionals and ICs and good luck. Just 300 is fine. 300 points, you put players into a regionals and you go, hey, have fun. Winning a regionals effectively gets your invite, which I think is correct almost certainly. I don't know. I don't like cups having points at all. In seniors, how much to have day 2 locked up? I don't know. Literally no idea what's the numbers on seniors, other than like the top 4 being like 1,600 or something points right now. But other than that, that seems to be all of the questions so far. That is everything. I guess I answered the majority of what I could. You can PM me on Facebook for more questions, etc. I don't know. I'm torn on this. I'm happy for all my friends that can qualify for Worlds now, but I'm very upset in the sense that Intercontinentals were juiced so much heavier, and it became the rich get richer format, and it was you can literally pay to get your invite. And I don't mean to take any shots at anybody, but like there have been like 2 or 3, maybe even 5. I think there's like 10 players off the top of my head I can think of that have been to almost every single regionals, that have been to almost every single Intercontinental. I'll put it at 2 out of 3, or even like 2 out of 3, and they like were below the 300 point threshold before this event. This changed because of this. Now they're over 400 something, and so like. World shouldn't be about the people who can consistently be mediocre at tournaments. It should be about the people who can consistently have top placements. Like, you have to be the best at all points in time. Like, I don't know, like Worlds, like anyone has a chance to do well, obviously, because there's a lot of players who are Worlds level caliber, but you have to be able to prove it to yourself in that season. I know I sound elitist. I know I sound like all that. But it's just simply the fact that it was announced so late and Intercontinentals got juiced so much, that the 2 big things that I'm upset about. But other than that, that's pretty much a wrap. And hopefully you guys share your input in the comments below. Keep it civil. yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys.